Alright guys and gals, this is a long play review for Crystal Kingdom Dizzy on the Amstrad CPC, released by Codemasters in 1992. And I figured it's about time I did a Dizzy video on the channel. The last and only one I did was over 10 years ago, a long play and review for Fantasy World Dizzy back in 2014. Anyway, my little lad, who's 6 years old now, has been playing a lot on my Amstrads these last few months, and I assure you this was from no prompts or pressure from me. He just got curious seeing them in my office, liked the look of them, and you know, he just loves playing games, whatever format they're in. Anyway, after trying out a whole bunch of games, as we found, he adores the Dizzy games, and we've been playing through them all together, and it's just been a magical time, figuring out the puzzles and laughing at all the daft stuff that can happen in Dizzy. Just lovely father-son bonding time together, yeah. And here he is completing Dizzy Prince of the Hewco, the preceding Dizzy adventure game to the one we're covering today. So it's just got me in a Dizzy mood really, and here we are. He's also completed Crystal Kingdom Dizzy, and he will present his own review of the game at the end of the video, so look out for that later. Anyway, let's get on with things. In this video, I'm very proud to say I've conducted interviews for the first time with key developers involved with this project of Crystal Kingdom Dizzy, with contributions from Philip Oliver, from the Oliver twins of course, the coder Dave Thompson, and graphics artist Jarrod Bentley. So thank you guys for agreeing to talk with me. But let's give a quick overview of the project to kick things off. This is essentially the 7th Dizzy adventure, ignoring the arcade spin-off games, but the first to be published and sold at full price. All the previous games were of course budget cassette games, sold for around £3, and this was now Codemasters' attempt to step away from that dying budget market with their first foray into the full price arena. How were they going to justify the new £10 price tag? Of course, there were free stickers and poster inside. But were we going to get an even bigger and better Dizzy adventure? And what's this nonsense about Game Genie enhancer codes? The first ideas for a 7th Dizzy adventure started around April of 1992, with a rough plot idea and outline from the Oliver twins to get the ball, or rather egg, rolling. About Grand Dizzy being upset about the free treasures of Zephyr being stolen, and actually that would be used and remain the plot of the game. In fact, they produced a whole game design document complete with dialogue, location descriptions, puzzles to solve, dangers, characters, objects, technical details, and even drew up a detailed map. This appears to be mostly Philip's doing and primarily their only involvement in the game, which he confirms. Andrew was 100% focused on NES development. I was doing many different jobs: office, admin, HR, accounts, design, inside Interactive Studios' new office where we were hiring staff, and overseeing conversions of various games, mostly to Atari ST and Amiga, and yes, design consultant for Crystal Kingdom Dizzy. But I'd only visit Codemasters' offices a couple of times a week, and then only for an hour or two. And as you'll see soon enough, most of the game design though was abandoned or very much simplified. However, some elements remained, most notably the pirate ship. Philip confirms that the team working on it weren't really wanting my input. I felt they really wanted autonomy and wanted Richard or David Darling to have final calls and things. As creator, with Andrew of Dizzy, we felt that was our role, so it was a little uncomfortable. Dave Thompson, the Amstrad Spectrum coder, remembers things more comfortably though. We spoke to the Olivers at various stages of development to get advice, etc. but overall they gave us a lot of freedom to make our version of a Dizzy game. I'm pretty sure they play tested builds and would have let us know if we'd gone too far or done something they didn't approve of. However, very late on in the development, potentially even after the game had already shipped, Philip did have some sharp criticisms in some developer feedback to Codemasters of the Spectrum version, as we can see here, with a fairly long list of complaints and suggestions over 6 pages. Oof. The Oliver twins also had a firm control of all things Dizzy through their Dizzy Enterprises company, and certainly didn't approve of anything that might harm the look of their little egg, such as a tattoo being put on the arm of Dizzy, which we can see here, which prompted an internal letter and memo to David and Richard Darling of Codemasters, asking them to remove it because it harms the image of Dizzy and it would indicate to parents that maybe there's other things in the game that may offend. Good grief. I suppose though I can see their points and why they're so protective. Dizzy has a certain look and specific young target audience, and you don't mess with that, I guess. But at the time, Codemasters were trying to improve their image and appear a little more grown up and not a small little budget company, and wanted to jump into the full price big league. As such, for Crystal Kingdom Dizzy, he now looks more like a fedora wearing Indiana Jones type action hero, swinging a whip, dodging dangerous crocodiles and such like. I did wonder if that was intentional or not. Philip tells me they wanted Dizzy to feel cooler. We were okay with this, but to a limit. They added the tattoo to Dizzy, and we felt that was a step too far, as this would actually put some parents off buying it for their younger children. The management of Codemasters wanted to age up Codemasters, hence the changing the logo around the same time. Codemasters were keen to be a full price publisher. Being a budget publisher had served them well, but they always felt second league. Previous Dizzy games were very high quality, but sold at a budget price, £1.99 and then £2.99. Taking a Dizzy to full price needed something beyond a bigger box to justify the price. The only option was a bigger, longer experience. Because memory limited the game size, the only way around this was to break it into multiple sections, each of which filled the memory. This was a trend at the time to justify high prices. We did Ghostbusters 2 a couple of years before, which had 3 games. That made up the full experience. Dave Thompson also remembers, this was an experiment for Codemasters to release a full price version of the game, timed for a Christmas release, and it included a variety of extras in the box. The game itself needed to be a larger than typical budget title and offer more hours of gameplay. This was certainly a challenge, as the Dizzy games are already beloved for the great design and replayability. To meet this challenge, the idea of having 4 levels, each locked by passwords, since there was no game saves at the time, was conceived. We also took the opportunity to provide some creative input into the game, specifically with the jump mechanic. We decided to stop the roll at the end of the jump to make it more controllable. Some people loved this change, but others, understandably, did not. More on that new Dizzy jump mechanic later, but did we really get a bigger, longer experience with Crystal Kingdom Dizzy, as Philip said? It was a cassette only release, no disc version, and as we load it up here, this is a cracked version transferred to disc by the way, but it all loads up in one go, in 64K of RAM on a CPC 464. It's not a multi-load, and all 4 levels are not separated. Doesn't seem like it's going to be that big. By the way, you can activate a built-in cheat mode here by holding down the keys TURBO to spell the word turbo for invulnerability. The border will flash white if it has worked. Turbo obviously being a reference to Turbo the Tortoise, the previous game both Dave and Jarrod worked on, also released by Codemasters. You'll note it says here a visual impact production too. I suppose this is a good point for Dave to tell his story on how he got started and how Codemasters came to him with Crystal Kingdom Dizzy. My video game career started in the late 80s when I was working at R&R Distribution selling software. I was 16 straight out of school. This is where I met Dennis Mulliner and Mark Wallace. Den was the manager of Micro Center in Hanley and Mark was his best mate. We often talked about wanting to develop games, and in 1987 we did just that, selling Butch Hard Guy for the ZX Spectrum to Advanced Software. We went on to develop a handful of titles such as Ultimate Combat Mission and Sanxion the Remix. In the early 90s, the three of us founded Visual Impact. I was the programmer, Dennis handled design and art, and Mark ran the business. Craig Kelsall, who developed the C64 version of the games, and Jarrod Bentley, a graphics artist, also worked alongside us. We had just finished Turbo the Tortoise, which was originally released by High-Tech Software, but unfortunately they went bust shortly after the game's release. Fortunately, Codemasters picked up the game, marking the beginning of our relationship with them. Turbo was very much a Mario-style platform game, and out of the blue, Codemasters asked if we would be interested in developing a full-price Dizzy game. We thought we'd be crazy not to take up the offer, so we jumped at the chance. I also asked graphics artist Jarrod his story too. I joined the team in 1992, although I had known Dave and Craig for some years at this point. Prior to my joining, it was during a visit to Software Superstore at Hanley Market Square Arcade, but Dennis Mulliner mentioned that Dave had set up a small studio locally and they were working on a game he designed called Turbo the Tortoise. Den hated doing backgrounds, so I popped to see Dave to offer my services. As you'll be aware, it was released by High-Tech Software and they went bump and Cody's picked it up. That put us in a position to do other projects for Cody's. That's when Dizzy came along. I was also curious about Jarrod's involvement in the development of the game, seeing as he was the graphics artist. I designed all the graphics for the C64, CPC and Spectrum, taken from the design documentation that had been produced. Dave and Craig, the C64 coder, were more involved with the documentation and overall design and planning side of the game, keeping in contact with the 16-bit teams to keep the versions as close as possible. I was given some odd bits of 16-bit art to use as a reference, mainly the status panel and the main characters. I tried to influence some parts of the look of the game. I was hoping all three versions could be in daylight like the 16-bit versions instead of the black skies, which we managed on the C64 as tiles were created from the character set, but on the CPC and Spectrum the tiles were bitmaps and we hadn't the memory spare for the extra graphics that will be required to create the effect. The general plan was to get it made and out the door in around 6 weeks. Well, a little bit of a spoiler there about the Amstrad's graphics. We haven't seen it properly in action yet. And, well, we're a long way into the video now. Oh, yeah, and the unique and enhancing Game Genie codes you can enter here. We haven't got to that as well yet. Well, what do? Well, we type book for level 2, type wall for level 3, and dozy for level 4. That's it. 4-letter words. An entirely pathetic password system that crackers surely would take less than a few seconds to find digging into the code. Sorry Dave, no offence mate. I'm just going to assume that's time constraints and pressure from the bosses to get the game finished and shipped and didn't leave any time to cook up anything fancy here. Bloody unique and enhancing Game Genies, what a load of extravagant arse. Just your usual Codemasters nonsense on the back of the box. Anyway, that was essentially the making of Crystal Kingdom Dizzy, but for now, let's get the Amstrad CPC and review going. And a little bit later during this, we'll be doing a comparison of all the other versions of Crystal Kingdom Dizzy. But for now, our main feature is the Amstrad one. Oh, hang on, I'm going to try and use a gold coin in the well here. Sorry, only gems and banknotes accepted. Right, allowed to do that. Oh, and there's a weight we can pick up here. So yeah, Amstrad is kind of like the main bread and butter of my channel normally. So that's why we're doing the Amstrad Longplay and review here. So yeah, get the making of and a long playing review of one of the versions, and it's the Amstrad one for our channel here. We have some more insight from Dave and Jarrod to add in as well during this. However, for now, let's get playing and see what we make of it as we come across a waterfall which we can't pass through. Sadly, it's not animated, but never mind. Okay. So we start off on a quest, and we're going to come across a lift which is not moving here, but there's like a little button there. If we stand on the button, it starts moving, but if we jump off the button, the lift doesn't move. So we drop the weight on the button, and now the lift continuously moves. Hurrah! And look, there's Daisy outside the hut. Let's go and talk to Daisy. Hello Daisy, how are you? Not too happy after you messed my bedroom up. Sorry. What have we been doing in the bedroom? And here's one of the first puzzles it took me ages to work out. How do we get in the hut? You go through the window. That took me absolutely blooming ages to work out when I first playing this. And what's in the bedroom but a whip? Okay. And we've messed the bedroom up as well. What on earth has been happening in Dizzy's bedroom with Daisy? That he's messed up the bedroom and there's a whip involved. Oh, there's a second weight to pick up there. Cool, blimey, crikey, who were misses and all that. Yikes. And we've got a generator inside this hut here. Can't do anything on it at the moment. You can exit either sides of the hut once you're inside as well. More cherries to pick up there. Hiya CJ, how's tricks? It's CJ the elephant. I'm starving, Dizzy. Do you have any peanuts on you? Peanuts? No, sorry. Okay, CJ the elephant has his own games from Codemasters as well. So a little bit of in advertising here. Bit cheeky. Yeah, good grief. It's a bit risque, whips and stuff, some bondage going on in Dizzy games, but there you go. Oh, it's Grand Dizzy's hut and study here. Let's go and talk to Grand Dizzy, the old giffer. Hello, Grand Dizzy. Don't bother me now, Dizzy. I've got too many things to worry about. Bloody hell, he's a bit of a miserable old codger. Alright. There's some snakes to avoid there. So yeah, if you come off the button there of the lift stops moving. So drop the weight on the lift there. Another puzzle solved. And another hut to go in. And it's Denzel's workshop. Hi Denzel, you look very busy. I'm trying to fix Grand Dizzy's glasses, but I've lost some of my tools. Have you seen any of them? No, sorry, I haven't. So here's the next puzzle. We've got to find some tools for Denzel. Right, okay. I wonder where they'll be. So let's go over here. We'll pick up a cherry. And we need to get to the next cloud. And I've kind of mucked up here and I've fallen down. So whilst we're having to go all the way around again, let's have some more insight from Dave. I asked him how coding the Amstrad version went and if he had much trouble, and if he deliberately chose to use the Amstrad's full 16 colour mode 0 here for the graphics. And Dave says, I cut my teeth on the Amstrad while working at Ocean on Daley Thompson's Olympic Challenge and learned from James Higgins, who was a brilliant teacher. Most of the feature logic was exactly the same, but the sprite, display and audio code were all bespoke. The graphics were created from scratch and look great, and I always made an effort to use Mode 0 in my Amstrad games where possible. I also remember that fitting everything into memory was a challenge, but most games were like that back in the day. There you go. Oh, and there's a screwdriver to pick up here. Remember Denzel was needing some tools. There you go. Oh look, there's an extra life to pick up here, but can we get across the bear pit? I don't think you can here. Not without taking some damage from the spikes. Is it worth it? Possibly. Get a bonus life. Lose 2 hearts though. There are at least 2 hearts to pick up in this level though. And there's a cherry. What do the cherries do? Well, I think you get a bonus score at the end of the level for picking up all cherries in the level. So can't remember how many cherries are. Is it 20 or 30? I think it's 20. I can't remember now. Or is it 10? Oh, I forget now. I forget. I should have made a note. Never mind. There you go. Thanks for the insight there, Dave. Right, so I guess we'll go to Denzel's hut and give him his screwdriver. But yeah, I mean, this looks really, really nice, this. I'm definitely liking the Mode 0 graphics here. Looks bright, bold and beautiful. Very colourful. Although it looks a bit garish here, just like the backgrounds there. Great, you found my screwdriver, thanks. Oh, I missed what you said there. Oh, I won't be needing this anymore. I have my spanner. So we now have got a spanner. Wonder what we could use a spanner on. I mean, there was only one other thing around here. Well, we'll find out in a second. Oh, the whip. Now, this bloody took me ages to find. The whip on the branch. That is one obscure bloody puzzle. More on that in a second. Dora's kitchen. I've got to speak to Dora. That smells good. Oh, Dizzy. I'm trying to cook these fairy cakes, but the power keeps going off. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, the power keeps going off. And there's a generator. When we interact with the generator, nothing happened. So we've got to assume that this generator is broken and we've got a spanner. With a loud bang and a puff of smoke, the generator bursts into life. The thing is, when we interacted with the generator, nothing happened to tell us if the generator was broken or not. So we just had to assume that the generator was broken. And we don't see the generator animated and bursting into life like we do on perhaps some other versions we'll see later. We're going to do a version comparison later in the video, chats, everyone. So, yeah. That freaking whip puzzle, though. That, you can just saw it briefly there. That whip took me absolutely blooming ages to figure out. Why would you think to use the whip there? Anyway, I fixed the generator. Great. Why don't you have one of my cakes? Thanks a lot, Dora. Oh, yeah. And we had a character in the game that was hungry. And he's conveniently just down here. It's CJ. Did you find any peanuts? No, but I've got a fairy cake. Will that do? Excellent. Hold my umbrella for me, will you? So, that automatically the dialogue automatically use the item from my inventory. In previous Dizzy games, you probably had to select the item from your inventory to use on the character. So that's a little bit of a change here. Sometimes things from your inventory like automatically get used. Don't know if that happened before in previous Dizzy games. Oh, now we've got the umbrella and we can walk through the waterfall. There you go. We're now in the cave. Oh, got a bat. So you can sort of spawn it, but if you go over a little bit further, and it will drop down and move across a little bit lower there. Inside the cave, and we can see what looks like a gem or a diamond or a jewel there, top left. That's it, just get rid of the bat there. Another cherry. Yeah. So getting into Daisy's hut through the window and figuring out that whip on the branch without looking at a walkthrough guide, that took me absolutely flipping ages to work out. And this is just level 1. And remember, this game is aimed at kids. And me and Mini Zypher were playing this, and we that whip and getting through the window took us flipping ages to work out. Oh, you can drop the umbrella here. You don't need it anymore. And at that point, I think Mini Zypho was getting a little bit shuffly and getting a bit bored, to be honest. Drop the diamond here. Greetings, I'm the great Game Genie. I can grant you one wish. What would you like? Game Genie. Could you make Grand Dizzy talk to me? Strange wish to ask for, but a bit of a waste. Your wish is granted. So make your own granddad talk to you. Bloody ungrateful git. It's not a great granddad if you have to use a wish. We could wish for anything in the world. World peace? A billion dollars? A Lamborghini? No. Make your granddad talk to you. Bloody miserable sod. Okay. Right, see what happens now. Grand Dizzy, you look worried. I am Dizzy, I am. And that's all the bloody sod says to you? Bloody hell. You can bugger off. Go to down. Have you fixed the glasses yet? No, these things take time. Right, you got to do, I think, a couple more things here. This whip puzzle. Yeah. I don't think I've seen a similar puzzle like this in a Dizzy game. Like creating a thing to jump on off of in a Dizzy game like that. But anyway, how's it hanging, dude? What's that? It's Grand Dizzy's paper. I'm studying my stars. It's Dylan. You don't believe all that, do you? Why not? I've finished reading now. You can have the paper. Thanks. Oh, a sparkling conversation there. And we've got the newspaper. Alright, off we go. And now, can we get the glasses? If you fix these glasses? Yes, here you are. Brilliant. And we now got the newspaper and a pair of glasses. And that probably should be it for level 1. There we go. Grand Dizzy study. Here's a newspaper, Grand Dizzy. Thanks, Dizzy. Here's your glasses, Grand Dizzy. Thanks, Dizzy. Oh, Dizzy, what are we going to do? The treasures of Zephyr have been stolen. Have been stolen. Oh dear. Oops. Wrong words being used there. Never mind. Don't know how that was missed on playtesting. In QA. I'm sure the other twins highlighted that. How can I help? You must find the treasures and return them to the sacred shrine. Good luck. There we go. Done maybe a little bit of extra dialogue to explain the plot a little bit more. It's all a little bit brief and stuff. Section complete. Objects collected 13. Perfect bonus. Score on that. And there's your Game Genie password book. So it's 13 cherries, and we got a perfect bonus for that of 5,000 points. If you care, about points in the game. And here's level 2, the pirate ship level. Hello. Sorry, I think that's Dozy. He's not bothered about speaking to us. All right, Fat Freddy's Surf Shack. Yo, Freddy. Hey, Dizzy. What can I sell you? Nothing, thanks. There we go. Oh yeah, we've got picks up the fish food, and we can drop the fish food here and get the dolphin moving, and we can use the dolphin to jump across. It reminds me of the shark in... Is it Magic Land Dizzy? I think it's the crocodile outside the castle in... Fancy World Dizzy. Magic Land Dizzy has the shark. Hey, it's Captain Blackheart. How are you there, Dizzy? Will you help get the ship ready? I'll try my best. Sorry, missed some of the dialogue there. Anyway. Yeah, so most of the puzzles are fairly simple in the game, but there's one or two sort of... oops. Anyway. Kind of obscure esoteric ones, but the rest of the puzzles here are fairly straightforward from this point onwards, I think. There's sort of one at the end of level 3 that was a bit like, huh? Because I couldn't figure out what the object was. But I'll come to that later. I did sort of ask Dave. I asked him kind of like, it's been said by others as well that some of the puzzles are a little bit more simpler compared to previous Dizzy games. Was that by design choice because of the multiple levels, or aiming for a younger market or a more casual gamer market? Or was it not enough time to research the previous games and their mechanics? Or were there any other ideas or plans that were left out due to time or memory constraints? Whilst I'll put this in whilst we're sort of picking up some items here. Oh, there's a bonus life there, which I don't think you can reach. I can't remember. So Dave answers, I'm not sure if it was a design choice or on purpose, but we definitely wanted to widen the appeal, especially given the high price points risk. We were also huge Nintendo fans and took a leaf out of Miyamoto's book when it came to game design, particularly platformers. Originally, we considered making the game a side-scroller, but that was far more memory-intensive and possibly one step too far for the die-hard fans, so we scrapped that idea early on. Thanks, Dave. There you go. We've just been collecting some items there. And we picked up the steering wheel and combine it with the blue tack. Automatically happens, and we just solved the first puzzle there. Oh, hurry there, Captain Blackheart. Again. So there we go. So, got the saw and the stick. We'll collect the saw there, leave the sticky tape there. And now we go inside the pirate ship. That's pretty nice. And we now got to fix. We've got to unfill and then fix the sail. We unfill the sail by collecting the scissors and cutting open the sail. Use the saw. I think we saw to saw some plank of wood. More cherries to get there. There's a patch there to patch the sail. When we unfill the sail, there is a hole in the sail we need to patch. Ooh, dear, took some damage there. Yeah, oh, sorry, I not mentioned the music. Ah, yes, the music. I forgot to mention that. The music is by Jarrod Gourley. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his surname correctly. Gourley. After talking to Dave, we believe he did his music first on the Commodore 64. I just picked up the patch there. And then he converted it over from the SID to the AY chips of the Amstrad and later model Spectrums. So yeah, Jarrod Gourley with the all the music on the 8-bit versions at least. And I think he's done a really good job here. I think it's very in keeping with the previous Dizzy games. I'm going to leave the saw there, get the plank of wood. Oh, actually, sorry. Yes, I need the saw to cut the plank of wood because it's too big to fit there. Watch out for the bat. There we go. So there's a hole to patch here in the ship. We're going to leave up there because we need another item for that in a bit. Ah, the sewing. Sorry, needle and thread. So we've got the patch, the needle and thread, and the scissors. That's all we need now for the sail. And for the hole in the ship there, we need the plank of wood, the saw. And I think we need a... I can't remember now. Is it the blue tack or the sticky thing? It's the sticky tape. Right, to patch the hole, I remember now, in the hole in the ship there, you need to saw the wood to fit it to fit it to the right shape, and there's the sticky tape we left there. So we're going to do the sail here. We're going to unfill the sail by using the scissors. There we go. But oh dear, there's a hole in the sail. So we just drop down. I'm going to go back up to the right position. Get the patch and the needle and thread. There's the patch. And it's using the needle and thread automatically. So there we go. So we need to go pick up the the sticky tape that we left down here. So yeah, the puzzles are not too hard here. Yeah, this level looks especially nice, I think, with the graphics actually. I asked let's get some insight from Jarrod here. So I asked him, you did both the Amstrad and ZX Spectrum graphics, but for once the Amstrad graphics weren't ported from the Speckies into the Amstrad similar size mode 1 4-color graphics mode. There you go. We'll just there you go. The sticky tape holds the plank firmly in place after we cut it to size and the leak is repaired. So yeah, it wasn't converted from the ZX Spectrums into the Mode 1's Amstrad's Mode 1. Instead we're using the Mode 0 16 colour mode. How did you cope with this, and was it a full redesign of the graphics for the Amstrad, and how did it work in terms of making graphics for both versions? Jarrod simply answers, believe it or not, the C64 backgrounds came first. The CPC and the Spectrum versions were ported. The CPC background graphics were more readily ported from the C64 as they both are using fat pixel mode. Obviously recolored and then enhanced slightly to take advantage of the CPC's graphics architecture. Any sprite that used a high-res overlay in the C64 had to be created from the ground up, but all the sprites were revamped to take in the Amstrad's enhanced colour capabilities. Wow. So there you go. Basically, the Commodore 64 graphics came first and then were basically kind of ported to the Amstrad and then Spectrum. That's a first, really. Right, what we have to do now is talk to Dozy. He sat on the captain's flag. Do you want it? Yes, please. But yeah, that really surprised me. That really surprised me. That the Commodore 64 graphics came first and kind of were ported to the Amstrad and then Spectrum. Bloody hell. Thanks, Jarrod. And then I asked him, actually, did you like the Amstrad's lower res full colour mode out of interest? And Jarrod answers, without the ability to put a high-res overlay on a sprite like the C64, making a chunky version of Dizzy and the crew was quite a challenge that I thoroughly enjoyed. I thought the colour palette was far superior to the C64, and to this day, graphically, it's still my favourite. Yay! Nice one, Jarrod. Thank you. I think Amstrad fans will like that answer out there. Oh, I fixed your ship, Captain. What do you think? It's great. You deserve a medal. Here, take this special badge. Thanks, Captain. What shall we do now? Do you know where Crystal Island is? No, I don't. We've got a Blue Peter badge. Alright. Oh, in the Amiga version, and now Atari ST, the pirate flag is actually a Blue Peter flag. Here we get a Blue Peter badge. And we actually get betrayed by the captain. It turns out it's not Captain Blackheart, it's Captain Blackbeard. He makes us walk the plank. No, I don't. But perhaps this map will help you. How much does it cost? Says Fat Freddy. Tell you what, I'll swap you a Blue Peter badge and I'll throw in a free telescope. Thanks, Freddy. We get a map and a telescope. So yeah, it turns out it's not in the Amiga version. It turns out it's not Captain Blackheart, but it's Captain Blackbeard or something. And he makes us walk the plank, and we end up on a marooned on a desert island. Great, you found a map. Now go and keep a lookout. Alright. So we just need to climb the mast here, and that will be the end of level 2. Oh yeah, I never figured out how to get that bonus life towards the right of the level, but never mind. Got all the objects, 9 objects, perfect bonus. So that's 9 cherries, 5,000 points, and the password is wall. The Game Genie code of wall. There we go. Right, it's supposed to be a desert island. We start off again in the woods. Now the torch is very important. We're going to go into caves later. Whatever you do... oh, the lift appears to have seized. As I was saying, we're going to go to caves later. Whatever you do, do not drop the torch in the caves and then move off from it. Because if you do, you'll end up in complete blackness and completely lost. Unable to pick up the torch. You might as well then just quit and restart. Unless you get lucky moving around, hammering the fire button to pick it up. Anyway, there's going to be a fair amount of to and froing in this level because Dizzy starts diving into water and going underground. But you'll need the flippers, which we've just picked up there, and the oxygen tank, leaving 1 slot spare to be picking up items to go back and forth with. So yeah, I'm not going to commentate too much on the puzzles here on this level because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about and get in before the final level. Oh, but apart from this thing, what is this thing? You can't interact with it and find out what it is. And this left me really confused. That's a rubber dinghy, but it's a deflated rubber dinghy. And it was like... Again, this left me really confused as to what you do on this at the end of this level. You need to pump it up, but it's got a puncture in it. But yeah, eventually I figured it out. I suppose it's not really too hard when you're left with only a puncture repair kit. But it was like you need to jump in it and pop it with a pin, and that apparently takes you to the next level. That was a strange way of escaping the island. You think you'd like pick it up and move it to somewhere to sail off in. Anyway, a weird way to escape the island by sitting in it and puncturing it with a pin, and you fart off into the clouds or something. But anyway, right. Let's talk about the other versions of Crystal Kingdom Dizzy. And let's start with the Specky version. ZX Spectrum, co-developed alongside the Amstrad version by Dave and Jarrod. And this is pretty much identical. And it's quite colourful for the Specky. But with that comes colour clash and colour bleed. As far as I can tell and seen, the Specky version doesn't get anything extra, so it really just comes down to which you prefer in the graphics. The slightly higher res of the Speckies, but with colour clash and bleed, or the far more colourful but no colour clashing Amstrads, but chunkier and less defined. But there is another version. Jarrod enhanced the graphics in 2009, which is worth a look. But is it enough to take it above the Amstrad version? I'm not sure. I think they're both on a par with each other, really. Just like pretty much all the other preceding Dizzy games. It's really not something to get into big arguments about. Right, Commodore 64. C64 version. And ooh, I'm going to have to be honest here. Does this have the nicest graphics and beat the Amstrad for once on colourfulness? It's nice having the blue sky rather than black like Jarrod said he wanted to have on his Z80 versions. Although it looks a bit overcast, being a bit grey blue. But anyway, yeah, it's nice actually, blue sky. I think the background stuff outside, like the trees and huts, etc., look a bit better on the Amstrad Specky, but inside huts definitely look better on the C64. And absolutely, 100% definitely, the Dizzy sprite looks best on the C64. As for the music, it plays a bit more laid back and slower on the SID here, faster on the Amstrad Specky, but both sound brilliant. I kind of like the square tooth wave beefiness of the AY, but then it's nice to hear that silky synthiness of the SID. But yeah, it's hard to say which music I prefer, really. You know, they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder in terms of visuals. Same with, like, it all comes down to personal preference in terms of sound and music, really. Any other differences to the Speccy and CPC? Just some very minor little touches, like the waterfall on level 1 is animated, but that's all I've seen. That's it, really. Actually, on reflection, I think the C64 is probably overall the nicest looking version, and probably the best of the 8-bit ones, but just by a whisker, I think. It could easily have been an NES release too, by the looks of it. And by the way, Commodore users are treated to a slightly different title screen tune as well. Alright, on to the 16-bit versions, and we start with the Atari ST because it's usually this that's then converted to the Amiga. Perhaps here it was the other way around, or co-developed at the same time, who knows. They're roughly the same as each other, the ST and Amiga. And a Dizzy game hardly pushes or taxes the resources of either computer, so it probably comes down to whether you prefer the music on either version. Anyway, but as you'll see here, this looks pretty different to the 8-bit versions and has a very different layout and design, but it is roughly the same. Essentially, it's the same puzzles like on the first level of getting the screwdriver over on the far left to give to Denzel, who will give you the spanner to get the generator going, so you can get a cake from Dora, etc, etc. This was just simplified down for the 8-bits to fit into better, like for the memory that was left and all that kind of stuff. So obviously this just had to be expanded on for the 16-bit machines to justify itself. So I'll fire up the Amiga version here, just so you can see this version running. And as you can see, it's pretty much identical, except for it has a nicer background with some fadey colours, and the music arguably sounds better. And that's about it as far as I can tell for like differences. Whether 16-bit owners would have been happy paying for a higher price than the 8-bit owners for a Dizzy game. Basically the same game, just expanded out a bit for twice the price. Yep, this is £20 rather than a tenner. Well, was it worth it? There is some actually nicer introduction screens prior to the game starting, and some extra music there, and some extra fluff presentation before the game starts. Overall, though, I think the Commodore was, for once in the Dizzy series, the winner on both the 8 and 16-bit machines here. The C64 version on the 8-bits only just, and the Amiga over the ST for the slightly nicer graphics and definitely better sounding music. But I think the 8-bits were the winners over the 16-bit machines. I mean, 20 quid. Probably should have reduced the price for maybe about 15 quid on the ST and Amiga, really. Mid-range price probably for those, but yeah. Oh, but that's not all the versions of Crystal Kingdom Dizzy, because there's a fan homebrew remake on the ZX Spectrum released in 2017, and it's fabulous. Starting out with a lovely introduction screen. This has been coded from scratch, yes, from the ground up, an entirely new game, but basically the same puzzles, however modelled after the Amiga version and layout. And it looks and sounds great. And Jarrod even helped contribute to this. I think with his sprites and heads-up display, he helped retouch. My only gripe with this is that they reintroduced Dizzy's roll after jumping back into the game, which, to be frank, isn't welcome, and also introduced full damage into the game, one of my pet peeves in platformers. I bloody hate that. I'm not sure why. I suppose it's to add difficulty to the game for those who already know the game well. But anyway, it's really well worth checking out, and a really fantastic production, and just really excellently done. Right, but there we go. And for those in my Amstrad and Patreon members, you'll shortly get a full screen, full size video of all the versions with longer footage for a bit more of a comparison. It's just an extra treat that my Patreon members get. So there you go, if you're a part of my Patreon. There we go, we just collected all the treasures there of Sephar. Rescued the old man in the lift, off up he goes. And we're pretty much just done like the main puzzles here in level 3. And we just need to get out here now and get to the top and collect the pin. Very easy to miss that pin there. That took me a while to find, actually. A lot of people miss that pin there. And you need that pin to get complete the level. So we can leave the torch here. Thankfully, with the torch there, that the cave doesn't go black on that screen. Avoid the fishies. They're quite easy to avoid, thankfully. And you can leave the oxygen tank, flippers and pin here. We need to do a little bit of fetching back and forth for some items. So I asked Dave and Jarrod, do you know if it sold well at the time and if Codemasters were pleased with the results and response, and also if you did get paid well for your work? And Dave answers, I think it sold okay, to be fair. However, the market was transitioning for 8-bit to 16-bit, as well as to the NES and Sega Mega Drive, which Codemasters moved into. I can't for the life of me remember how much we got paid, but I'm sure it was good enough. Shortly after both Craig and I joined Codemasters' in-house team, Visual Impact was closed. I went down the producer route and Craig continued programming. With the changes to the market, it was becoming much harder to be a successful indie developer. And Jarrod answers, I honestly have no idea, but as it was full price, right at the tail end of the 8-bit's life, I'm not sure it sold well. Reviews were mixed at the time on all the 8-bit versions. And no, the money wasn't great, as he had to fire out quite a quantity of games at this time to make any money in the 8-bit market. Oof. Well, thanks for being honest, guys. There you go. Thanks for the insight there. Use the oxygen tank to inflate the dinghy. It doesn't tell you there, by the way. Drop the oxygen tank, and we've got to go and pick up the treasures. I'll have one more question to ask Dave and Jarrod. We'll do that in a short bit. Got the crown. Hit detection on the enemies is okay. Got a little bit of a rectangle box around them, so it's not like pixel perfect like collision detection, but it's okay, it's passable. Got the crown and chalice. We can pick up the pin now, so make sure you get all 3 of the treasures, drop them in. There you go. And now we can get in the dinghy, pop it with the pin. What a weird puzzle. You climb into the dinghy and stab it with a pin. The dinghy flies through the air, carrying you to your next adventure. That took me a while to figure out a bit, actually. Then again, it was just a process of elimination. I've done everything else in the level. All I've got left is the pin. Let's try popping the dinghy with a pin and see what happens. Oh, that worked! I've completed the level. That was one of the more obscure, obtuse puzzles, and it just like, well, let's just fricking try it and see what happens. Here we go, final level, and we're in the Crystal Maze. Little tribute to a famous TV show on UK TV. Quick, quick, get the crystal. Is it Richard O'Brien? Those of you outside the UK won't know what this is. Leave the items there. You don't need to pick them up. In fact, if you pick up all 3 items, if you get to the end of this section here, you won't be able to pick up the item waiting at the end, which is the crystal. And you can only carry 3 items. Alright, let's get the last question I asked Dave and Jarrod. I asked them, any funny or interesting stories from your time working at Visual Impact or Codemasters during Crystal Kingdom Dizzy? And Dave answers, it's not the funny or interesting story, but developing games with a group of best friends in just a few weeks was the best of times. Something I really miss these days. Don't get me wrong, I love what I do now, but the scale is completely different. There's something special about cramming into a 10 metre by 10 metre office, working late into the night, adding the next cool feature or crafting a tricky puzzle and playing it for the first time together. The real highlight was seeing players at computer game shows enjoy my game and having a blast. Indeed, Dave. I had a blast playing this too, despite 1 or 2 things that confused the hell out of me, but it was cool. I really enjoyed doing this. Thank you, Dave. Thank you very much, mate. And Jarrod answers, I still like it, but I wish we had more time than we did to make it. I've modded the Spectrum version to enhance the graphics a bit back in 2009, and since working on Wonderful Dizzy, I've edited some of the graphics of the programmer from the 2017 Spectrum remake. It's quite weird reworking the rework of your original game. Yeah, we just featured it not too long ago. Oh, here's a little puzzle here. There we go. It's a catapult there. Wonder what it was initially. To drop all the items in the catapult. There you go. You climb into the catapult and you, along with all the treasure, are thrown through the air. And we're now in the Ice Palace. If you remember, we looked at the original maps drawn up by the, I think, Philip Oliver. And this is one of the places that's still featured. We picked up a salt pot. And now each of the treasures are sort of like stuck in the Ice Palace. We've got to figure out how to get the free treasures back and then put them in their final location. Let's talk about magazine reviews. So this was reviewed in the January 1993 issue 88 of Amstrad Action magazine. They talked at length about how Dizzy games are aimed at kids and how little they've advanced or changed, but perhaps that's okay given the target audience. However, they made comments about the puzzles generally being rather simplistic, apart from the odd obscurity thrown in, like the whip on the first level, taking a while to figure out. But they really did question the new price point, saying at £4 they would have given it a higher mark. But being sold for a tenner, it's down at least 20% for that, I'm afraid. So they rated the graphics at 94%, Sonics 73%, grab factor 84%, staying power 41%, with an overall AA rating of 72%. Oh, we'll put the block of ice in here, and the chalice floats up, and we can get that difficult jump there, by the way. So there you go. If it had been put out at budget at $3.99, it may well have scored 92%, because they took 20% off the score and gave it 72%. My review. I kind of agree with Amstrad Action magazine review there. For once, it's a fairly insightful and balanced review, and not just quickly knocked up at 5 PM on a Friday before dashing down the pub. Oh look, we've got the parachute here, which allows us to float down. By the way, I forgot to mention that. I mean, a lot of Amstrad Action reviews felt like that in its mid-years phase. Trenton Webb stand-up. But yeah, the puzzles go from the kind of blindingly obvious. I mean, surely going to figure out, like, Denzel, who's lost his tools, might want that screwdriver you found. And then the broken generator might like that spanner he gives you in return. And they occasionally go to the baffling, leave you wandering around for ages, like being able to jump into the window Daisy's hut, and then what to do the whip to lasso the tree branch. And suddenly the latter there feels a bit out of place, not something I've seen in a previous Dizzy game. And then there's items having to use items, having to combine them together. Often it's not clear, and they're automatically just used and it happens. Whereas in previous Dizzy games, you had to specifically use them one at a time to show the game you had figured the puzzle out. But yeah. Oh, actually, hang on, wait. We're about to complete. We're about to complete it. I'll come back to my review. Place the treasure in the correct spaces. Oh, we're at the altar. I don't know who that guy is. Is that Zephyr? I don't know who he is. The game. See, the game doesn't tell us who we're talking to. We would not. That would be nice, actually. So we place the crown in the middle. Don't worry, it tells us if we've got it wrong. So it's just a process of elimination, really. Chalice to the left. And the sword to the right. And then we go and talk to him. Congratulations, you've got 3 correct. Okay. And I guess we gotta press a fire button. Okay. Section complete. Objects collected 4. Perfect bonus 5,000. 4 cherries again. Score of 37,300. That's my final score. Well done, says Grandizzy. You've saved the Yoke folk from the evil curse. Once more, you're a hero. And that's the final end screen. And I think, unfortunately, that's all we get for completing Crystal Kingdom Dizzy. And yeah, I think that is the weakest ending I think I've seen on a Dizzy game, unfortunately. Just one screen and a bit of weak text, really. That is a bit of a shame. Probably down to memory constraints. I mean, they must have absolutely crammed this into 64K of memory. I really wish they made this a multi-loads. And then we get a game over screen. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. That is Crystal Kingdom Dizzy completed. Yeah. Well, there we go. Wow. What do we think? Let me know in the comments what you think to Crystal Kingdom Dizzy. And as I was saying a second ago, it's a bit weird how, like, when you have to combine items together, it's done automatically for you. I mean, was it meant as a time saver to keep it more arcadey? But there's kind of like little show you on the screen things happening and a kind of a sense of accomplishment. Similarly, the presentation here is rather bare bones. It's disappointing there's not much ending for the game after all your efforts, but and it does feel rather short and easy despite 1 or 2 obtuse puzzles. And kind of like the hardest puzzles are actually 2 of them on level 1. But yeah, it shouldn't take you too long to complete. And it does actually feel rather shorter and smaller than previous budget Dizzy games, despite being split into 4 levels. But 4 levels that load all in one go anyway. And after all that bluster from the Darling brothers about a full-price Dizzy game. But hey, it kind of seems like I'm being overly harsh and critical here. For what it is, I really liked and enjoyed this. I think it's really well programmed. I found no bugs, issues and crashes or glitches where I get stuck in scenery or anything like that. Dizzy moves about smoothly and responsively from the controls. Dave's done a great job coding this. I like the removal of the roll after jumping. I think that's a really nice quality of life change and improvement. I really like Jarrod's graphics and the switch to mode not on the Amstrad. It's a nice change, whether Dizzy purists like that or not. That's up for debate in the comments. I mean, you let me know what you think. And I'm not just saying this because Dave and Jarrod have spoken to me and I've interviewed them. I'll always be honest. So, you know me. I've done that on previous videos where I've interviewed coders and stuff like that. But and I've been fairly open with like feedback and criticisms and stuff. But you have to. But I understand that they had to make this game under tremendous pressure. Like, I am fully aware that working under these conditions was like working in a factory. You had to churn out product. It was like a conveyor belt factory line. A game comes along on the conveyor belt. You've got X amount of weeks to make this game. 4 weeks, 6 weeks, sometimes less than that. And you've got to get it done. There's a deadline. It has to be out for Christmas, you know? I had you not just got the Amstrad version to do, you got the Spectrum version to do, and you got the Commodore 64 version to do, and you might be pulled off that to help out, do other things on other versions. Oh crap, we need help on the ST version because that has an issue or whatever. Can you help do some game testing on this other version as well? And we've got another game that needs help finishing and all that kind of stuff. So you're being pulled all over the place and you've got tight deadlines. And boss, we haven't done an ending for the game yet and we need more time. You know, and it's like, tough. Is the game finished? Yes. Right. Done. Let's get it duplicated and into shops. We'll run out of time. And we need to get working on another game that needs to be done in time for Christmas. You know? So that's not Dave or Jarrod's fault. That's the fault of bosses and unrealistic deadlines and budgets and stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, so for my review score for the Amstrad version, I'll give this a 7 out of 10. Or I'll go slightly higher than Amstrad Action with a 73% score. Yeah, I think that seems fair. Because I enjoyed playing it. It wasn't frustrating, and kids at the time would have probably enjoyed it, although they might have needed help from an older sibling or a magazine tip section in a couple of places. I enjoyed making this video too, so thank you Philip, Dave and Jarrod for taking the time to talk to me. It was really greatly appreciated, and I'm sure by everyone else watching the video. Thank you guys. And thank you everyone for watching this far, and if you enjoy watching content like this, please consider supporting me on Patreon and joining the Am Squad. Sorry this took a long time to make, if you've been waiting a long time for videos on my YouTube channel. As you can tell, this was a lot of work putting together, a lot of research for example, and then editing especially too, so I hope you think it was worth the wait. Anyway, just to sum things up, so I still think it's a worthy Dizzy game, and it shouldn't be written off because I've seen some bad things written about it online over the years and some people moaning blah blah blah. Just remember, the target market of these games were fairly young kids, not grumpy 40-year-old men. And the proof for me was with Mini Zypho playing through all the Dizzy games with me, including this one, and liking it as much as the others. Although not quite as much, because he's not asked to play it again like he has with Fantasy World and Magic Land Dizzy. But I will leave today's review, video and final words with Mini Zypho himself and what he thinks, along with his reaction to completing the game. Take it away, little man. That's it. Oh, you got the crystal! That's it, you got the crystal. Now get back and give the crystal to the man at the start of the crystal maze. That's it. And this is the final level of Crystal Kingdom Dizzy, or Dizzy 7. I think you just completed Crystal Kingdom Dizzy. Well done. You've saved the Yoke folk from the evil curse. Once more, you're a hero.
Game over.
You've completed Dizzy 7.
What?
Oh, it's not much of an ending though, was there? No. Oh. But you've beaten the game though. Have a high five. Another high five. There we go. What did you think to Dizzy 7?
It was so good!
It was so good! Yeah. Not much of an ending though, was there?
Yes.
After all that time.
How do we get those cherries?
The game started over from the beginning again. And not much of an ending though, but oh well. Was that fun though? What was your favourite level in the game?
The pirates.
Pirate ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arr, arr. Cool. Yeah. You want to play, what game's that? The Ewok game.
Yes.
Arr, the daddy's game. Alright, okay then.
So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please click a like below, leave a comment, and also subscribe if you haven't already. And over that way, there's another video for you to check out. Zypho, out.